Welcome back to the Ride and Laugh podcast. If you love mountain biking, you are in the right place. Picture your last really fun group ride. You're back at the parking lot. The stoke is high. Everyone's talking about bikes, tech, nutrition, jumps, berms, drops, rock gardens. That's what we do here every week on the Ride and Laugh podcast. You love bikes. We love bikes. Let's drop in. Sage, how are you today?
Woo, Danny, we got snowy trails. We have new video releases. It's a good day, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. It is sunny and beautiful. I know it's a little bit of a broken record here, but it's sunny and beautiful every day here in the desert. It's actually been a little bit of a warm winter. I think we got your heat. Like any heat that you were supposed to have in the rest of the country.
Yes.
We got
right
it.
To Phoenix.
We're like 10 degrees warmer than we're supposed to be, and you guys are all like 10 degrees colder, right? I mean, you're in like...
Sounds about right.
You're not getting above freezing. Yeah. It's been so cold in the Northeast, and I think a lot of the country has been super cold.
Yeah. I think the line of demarcation runs right through the Phoenix right there. I think everything to the east of that has just been... Yeah. Even Florida. They got down into the 30s. Yeah. Ooh, boy.
Oh, that's unusual. Yeah, that's crazy cold. I have a question. I realized I was listening back to one of our pods and you asked me a question and I didn't ask the follow-up question. You asked me, I was talking about my mom coming out here to visit.
Yeah.
You said, Danny, where do you get your mountain bike athleticism from? Which parent? And as I was listening back, I was like, oh, I didn't ask Sage.
Oh,
where do you look at your genealogy and say, this is where my athleticism came from? This is why I'm a good mountain biker.
I think I get my endurance from my dad and I get my athleticism probably from my mom. So yeah, she was a tremendous athlete, just really good at anything she wanted to do, like bowling, no problem. Ping pong, no problem. Like whatever she wanted to do, picked it up right away. But my dad, he like swam like 2 miles every day for as long as I can remember. He was doing that. He doesn't do that anymore, but
2 miles?
2 miles at the
really
pool.
Far.
Yeah, it was really far.
Wow.
Yeah, he was really into that, but he has really good endurance. He also loves the outdoors. So I get the love of being outdoors from my dad, probably more than my mother. But yeah, it's a really nice combo from both parents.
Yeah, it's not something that we ever really consider too much, especially as we get older.
Right.
You look at, I think about it with my kids. My wife is a really good athlete and picks things up really quickly.
Yeah.
And then when my kids aren't like that, I'm like, no, I guess that's my side, Sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. That's
no, man, you're a great athlete.
Your dad. It's probably your daddy.
Yeah. Come on, man.
I took summer mountain biking again. We went to a whole bunch of rides. My daughter's summer is 12.
Yeah.
And she loves the challenge. And so we started going to Hawes, and the first ride that we went, she rode awesome. And then on the downhill, it's just a flowy, sustained downhill, but it's sustained enough that if you don't brake, you'll just keep going faster and faster.
Yeah.
And so like 3/4 of the way down, she was like ripping it, and I'm thinking to myself, I was like, should I tell her to slow down? Like, should I put my fear onto her or just let her like enjoy, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And sure enough, she ends up like kind of washing out, like in a random section. It wasn't, and so she hit the deck, but she was okay. And we got back to the car and she was like high vibe about it. She was like, hey, it happened for me. And afterwards, like I started riding with more control. So, it's all good. And then all week she was asking me, do you think we're going to be able to go back mountain biking again?
All
so
right.
I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
If you want to go, like we will go again. And then the night before we're all set to go. She's like, I don't know if I want to, and started digging in a little bit. And she was started to focus on the fall, and she started to get scared. And so I said, look, we could walk whatever you want. We could just walk whatever you want. And just, there's no pressure to do anything. We could hike the whole trail with bikes if you want. She said, okay, well, I want to go then. Let's go. And so we get out there and she's in like panic mode, like she's just like in her head to start the ride. She's squeezing the brakes and she's not modulating brakes. So like when a 12-year-old gets scared, she squeezes both brakes. So like the tires lock up, you're just like, and that's not a comfortable feeling either.
Yeah.
And she gets to a point where she's like, I'm not having fun. I don't know if I want to do this. And part of me wanted to just be like, well, let's just keep going. You got this. Like, let's just keep going. But instead it was like, hey, let's take a deep breath. Let's be present. Let's center, and just take it one pedal at a time, one trail at a time. And she starts getting into a flow and she starts having fun. At one point she says, did we pass where I fell? And it all looks the same, I think we did. And she was so excited. And when we get to the bottom of the trail and no falls, and she's just so excited, we went out to breakfast and we were talking about overcoming fears. And I said, you ever hear those quotes about, it's not getting knocked down. The hard part is getting back up. Like you just did that. You got knocked down and you got back up. You could have decided this is scary. I don't ever want to do that again. And then mountain biking just wouldn't have been something that you probably ever did.
Yeah.
But you didn't. You said, no, I'm not going to let the fear control me. I'm going to go out there and let me go see if this is fun. Can I still enjoy it? And I was just so stoked for her, and to apply all the ride and laugh, everything to my kid, and to a beginner, that coaching and that voice that we want to hear in our head. And it was a cool moment.
Yeah, man. Full circle. I mean, we just talked about, all the things that we get from our parents, and here you are, you've gone through a lot of these same struggles, and you were able to, use the guidance that you've received, over the years and bestow that on her. And that's fantastic.
Yeah. All right. Well, getting into some more technical kind of conversation, you were talking about your stump jumper and you were talking about the handlebar width.
Yeah.
And the bike came stock with I think they come stock with 800 millimeter.
Yeah.
And you found that to be too wide. And I was kind of curious. I started to do some math. I was wondering, is my handlebar too wide? I started to do some math and some research. And I was wondering how you came up with your actual handlebar. Like you cut down your bars. What did you decide on and how did you get there?
True to form, it's all by feel, my friend. There is no magic. I take the brake levers, I take the shifter, I loosen all the bolts, slide them to the inside of my handlebar close to the stem, and then I just put my hands on the bar, and what feels most comfortable. There's no magic to this. I'm a very feel type of guy. I wish there was an algorithm or something that I could share with people, but that's how I do it.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. Because I found a calculator from Lee McCormack, who Lee likes bikes. He's a mountain bike coach, and
of course you would have one. Yeah.
And he's just like he's a total mountain bike geek, like geometry, like he's got all sorts of the math. I mean, he knows the math of mountain biking. He talks about like sine waves, and when you bounce on the trail, like the sine waves of flow and love. And Lee's an interesting guy. I think his coaching is really cool. He's been in the game for a long time. But if I used his calculator, then my ideal handlebar would be at 838 millimeters. So even bigger, even longer, which I don't want.
Huh.
The other thing I had always read was to measure your push-up position, get in push-up position and measure from pinky to pinky. And that takes me up to 863. So I guess I just stick with the stock, right? I don't think I want wider handlebars. Like, honestly, they feel plenty wide. Maybe they would benefit me. I don't know.
I mean, you don't know because you haven't tried it, right? Like that's really interesting. So everything that you're reading is telling you should be wider.
Bigger.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm tall. I got big, long orangutan arms, I guess lanky legs, orangutan arms.
Well, the downside is there's no way for you to find out, right? I mean, they do have handlebar extenders. I have some on my single speed, but even then,
no, I don't think I'd want to do that.
Right. Yeah. So how would you even test that theory?
I don't even know if they make a big giant handlebar, and you just start getting like stuck places. You know what I mean? Like it's not like at the Northeast where there's trees, I mean, where you really like the handlebars will hit things.
Yeah.
But I take this bike places, like I am in the woods sometimes, and it gets narrow.
Yeah.
And there's certainly like, I've certainly run my handlebars up against rocks and cactus here in the desert, where it gets tight. Like, I don't think I want to go wider. Listeners, let us know. Is it, any of our taller listeners, or, what are you doing with your handlebar width? But there's definitely like a too wide for the trail. I feel like 800 is kind of maxed out.
I mean, I wouldn't worry too much about being too wide for the trail. The bigger question is what brought this on? Are you not comfortable with your handlebar width? Were you like, oh man, I wish I was.
I think what brought it on was you talking about cutting yours down. And then I was like, oh, I wonder if mine are too wide. Like I've just been riding stock, and I probably have been riding the stock 800 because I've done this exercise before, where I like went and like figured out where my handlebars should be. There was a period when handlebars were very narrow. And then people started to realize that wider bars gave you a lot more leverage, and you can get into why it feels that way. But there was definitely like everything started to come with wider and wider handlebars. And then there was the pushback of like, hold on, these are too wide for some people. And of course you can cut them down, but a lot of people were just riding them stock.
Yeah.
And so I think I knew that push-up technique, when you get in the most comfortable position for a push-up where you feel the most powerful, then you take a tape measure and you just measure pinky to pinky. And that's where you're most powerful. So I'm actually in a little bit. I don't get that full range because I'm taller and a little bit bigger of a guy. I don't get that full range of power at 800 and 838, 863. Like those are pretty big numbers.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not experiencing any issues right now with power, I wouldn't mess around with it, and a great example is your step up, your ability to lift the front of that bike and do these big pop-up moves. You don't struggle at all. In fact, you're very powerful on the bike. You're downhilling. That's where a wider bar would help. And I don't think your struggle on the downhill is the bar width. I think it's just a question of being comfortable with the speed. If you were getting up to speed and you're like, oh man, this doesn't feel stable. Like this bike is like, I feel like it's like wiggling too much. Well, then yes, that would be an indicator of you probably need to get that wider bars. But I've never heard you complain about that.
I wonder if the bike is getting a little twitchy under me, and I that subconsciously slows me down or scares me. The Firebird I ride out here is a large, and it's not an extra large, and it's kind of known to have short chain stays. And I think the longer the bikes, the more stable, the wider the bars, the more stable. So there might be a few things where that bike is very nimble and climbs really well and is a little bit more playful at speed. It may not inspire as much confidence, but I certainly could be in my head also. You know what I mean? Like, but they probably play a role.
Well, if it makes you feel good, you could always look up the pro riders that we talk about, like Benoit, Collange. He'll list the kind of bike he has and how wide his bars are. Like a lot of these pros will list exactly the specs on their bikes, and you could figure out like what Benoit does and see if that makes sense. Maybe he's running wider bars, and then if that is the case,
oh yeah,
maybe experiment.
Someone
with
who's
that.
6'3", 6'4", yeah, right. See how wide their bars are. Like a Jeff Lenosky, you know what I mean? Like he's a humongous, he's a huge human being.
Yeah,
he's got to have wider bars. I would think. Well, I guess not. I mean, he's riding forever, so you just adapt, I guess, too.
Yeah.
I'd be curious if you did the push-up test to see and then measure your bars. I'd be curious to see how close that is, how close your intuitive bar is, length. And we could put you into Lee's calculator as well. But I think the push-up test is even more indicative. Like I feel like that's your best power zone. Like that feels to me like where you would want your handlebars, like the ends of your hands on the bike.
Yeah. I wonder if that would be the same for chin-ups. Like I find chin-ups to be really hard when my hands are really far apart versus like.
Yeah. And right. You have the inside.
The curl.
I always thought the pull-up was when your hands are, like when your knuckles are facing you. The chin-up, I thought, was when your knuckles are facing away. But all of those are activating your lats and your biceps. And I think when you're going downhill, you're really more activating your chest and your triceps, right? Like that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah.
Yes. Very perceptive.
And you can always do a lot more push-ups than pull-ups.
Yeah. So true.
Like that. that motion is much stronger. So
Yeah.
are you doing pull-ups? I know there's a pull-up bar in your house.
That is part of my weightlifting training.
What's the routine then? And do you feel that on the bike, do you think?
It's basically 3 reps of each position, and same with push-ups. I do 3 reps of different positions, so I'll have my hands really far out.
Okay.
I'll have my hands where I turn them in, and then I have my hands really close to my body, and I'll do 3 reps of that as well. What was the second part of that question?
You feel it on the bike. Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I feel it on the bike. And for me, again, it's a feel thing. I always feel like if you want to get strong on the bike, you ride the bike more. Like I never felt like the weightlifting translated. What I do think translates, what I do think translates is like core work, strengthening your core.
Okay.
I feel like that makes a huge difference, and for me, like doing sit-ups, doing like back extensions, like those things I feel like help me on the bike, but doing push-ups and pull-ups, I just, when you're in a push-up, it's very stationary. It's like, this is where my body is and this is how I move. On the bike, it's never a perfect situation where like, my hands are perfectly like this and I'm at this perfect distance. Like I'm always like contorting my body. And that's why I think the core work makes more of a difference on the bike than weightlifting. But I could be an oddball.
Did you ever see any of these videos, like the YouTube videos or the Instagram videos where they show athletes training and there's all sorts of these like crazy dynamic movements where they're like doing things, they're suspended by bands and doing things on balls and like maybe I think it would be cool to get like a mountain bike training kind of expert and be like, okay, well, there's this regular push-up, which is static, but then there's these other types of push-ups that are dynamic. Yeah. So for mountain bikers, like train it in this way. I totally agree about the core, by the way.
Oh,
I do a lot of core training. Like that makes a lot of sense. Being able to lock your core, having a strong core, obviously some flexibility. Yeah. But the body works as a system. So we want our legs to get stronger. You want your arms to get stronger. Like obviously as mountain bikers, unless you're into another sport, you're going to be more focused on your legs being strong. But since the body works as a system, you're giving it the training stress that says, hey, get stronger. So the whole thing gets stronger. And I do think that there's absolutely value in that. As far as the pull-up goes, I think it's good. Like, I love the plyometric type of things. I like being able to lift up your own weight. Yeah. I always say to my girls, we walk by the playground and there's a bar there, and sometimes I'll hop on and do a bunch of pull-ups. And I always say to my girls, like, I would love for you to be able to do one pull-up. And then anytime we're watching a movie where there's someone hanging out of a helicopter and they can't pull themselves in, or they do pull themselves in, I'm like, right there. That's why you need to be able to do
one pull-up. Yeah.
A pull-up. Yeah. We talk about it all the time. Like, do you want to be the girl that can't pull herself up out of the helicopter? So they're like looking at the technique, you know what I mean? Like someone pulls himself up, but they swing a leg over first, and they're like, "Oh, Dad, I could do that."
There we go.
Yeah, And I'm like, "All right, I guess." But you want to take the chance that you can get your leg up over the, So not that I want to manifest them hanging out of a helicopter at some point in their lives, but just in case.
Hey, you never know. It
happens in a lot of movies. I don't know. It happens in a lot of movies. Like I have lots of examples. And every once in a while, you see a realistic movie where the person can't pull themselves up.
The other thing that I focus on, and this is, I've gotten a lot of flack from our buddy Stick, who's really into lifting, and I think even Mark Tuneau commented on this once before. But I don't lift heavy weights. I do more reps with smaller weights, and I don't know. For me, I feel like that benefits me more.
Yeah, I know. I'm really curious about that. Like, it would be really cool to get an expert on, because I have, and my research has taken me to the opposite. Do one set. You don't need to be in the gym for an hour. Do one set heavy to failure. But that could be like one set of like 15 to 25. It could be one set of 8, like whatever kind of works for you. And obviously you prefer doing it this way, and that's working for you. So I'm not going to tell you not to do that. We do want to optimize our time, what's going to be the most efficient. The thing that I always find really interesting about your weightlifting routine is that you don't do legs.
That's right. Right? No legs. Yeah, that's right. I know. It's crazy. Again, if you want to get stronger in the legs, then start running, start cycling. You know, I don't do any of the deadlifts. I don't do any of the lunges or any of those things that involve any kind of leg work.
And I do, and yet you are one of the most powerful riders that I ride with. Like, you don't ride granny gear. You ride in big gears. You push the big gear. You have no problem with it. And I'm here like doing squats and deadlifts, and I'm running the granny gear. You know, like, I'm looking for more granny gear. I'm thinking about going into a
double granny,
a smaller front chain ring. Yeah, you know. And here I am, like, but I do one set, max out my squats. The problem with doing legs when you're a cyclist is that legs can blow up the next ride.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
like,
you
they don't
blow up
always,
your legs.
Yeah. Always, yeah. That is definitely there. But I do think that there's benefit there both ways to training with heavier weights. I do think creates your body to have some cool adaptations. I know I talked to my buddies and my riding friends here in Arizona, and it's kind of a mixed bag. On some of them are very serious about weightlifting, and some of them really don't do any upper body. They're just riding the bike.
And is there correlation?
You know, and they're all really good riders.
Yeah. Oh, well then, and so that's, yeah. So are you noticing any kind of correlation?
I mean, Joe Mullins he goes to the gym. He's like a modern He-Man. I mean, he's just like so fit. Like, when I hug him, I'm just like, he just feels like a rock. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, you know, I'm thinking like, man, this guy feels like a rock. And he's like, this guy feels like a pillow.
Oh my gosh.
Joe's like, I'm not thinking anything when I hug you. I'm thinking, when's this hug going to end? It's too long. It's too long. And you came in from behind and you made it weird.
Why is there rubbing? Why are you rubbing?
I'm just like, oh, Joe, your body is so amazing. Your figure is so incredible. Like, I got to extend this hug a little bit. Joe's an awesome rider, and he's really all around fit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I know Jeff Windsor, he lifts weights, you know, like he's all around fit guy. I lift weights, you know, I like it. I like the overall fitness.
Yeah. That's interesting.
All right. Well, let's get into the comments and feedback from episode 35. Flats for skills, clips for speed, pedal choice confidence, and yearbook of Stoke. Ooh. And a lot of pedal comments. This is a hot topic, a hot button, as they would say. Dan at Juggernaut MTB, great listener and always good commenter. And Dan wrote pretty much saying that his group is split 50-50, and the line of demarcation, as you were pointing out, is about 30 years of age. And the people that are older clip in, and the people that are younger are riding flats. Probably because we kind of grew up in the XC era.
Yeah, that was big.
Yeah. You know, no one really wants a switch. We got Aaron Rock said, never tried clipless, kind of scared to make the leap, seen too many guys get stuck and clipped in, and then the wreck turns out worse than if they, you know, had been able to bail. I don't see that very often, but it certainly can happen.
Yeah.
We're talking about people going from flats to clips. Like, in that episode, we were talking about my friends going from flats to clips because of the Arizona riding. Yeah. But it seems like it's more common for people to be clips and want to get better at riding flats.
Yes, that's me.
And I know that's something you were talking about. Right. And I had the pleasure of riding with Rob Drew. Great, like South Mountain, Arizona legend, like an amazing rider.
He's a lifter.
Oh, yeah. Probably. Yeah. I would think Rob Drew could throw around some weights. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And Rob was saying he really thinks you pick one pedal and stick to it, that there's not really a benefit in learning how to do clips or flats. So just pick one and be good with it. And I was just wondering, like, is it worth it? I've seen so many flat pedal challenge, like, you know, you should be able to do this on flats and it'll make you better at clips, but is that true?
I do not know if the opposite is true, but I do know that if you are a clipped rider, practicing on flats, I'm sorry, Rob, but it does make a difference. It does help. I was astonished when I did my class.
Really?
Because they required us to go flats, and I was astonished at how many like poor habits that I was relying on the clips. And when I did the proper technique, it actually made you more stable. Like I would not drop the heels or I wouldn't press into the corner the right way, or I would, I quote unquote cheat using the pedals, and the flats don't allow you to do that. They really keep you honest. And the reason why I put the quotes in the cheat is like, there's not really cheating. There's no cheating, but there is getting better, and there is using your body in the right way. And, can you learn to do those things on the clips? Yeah, you can. You absolutely can. But if you do it on the flats, you'll know that you're doing it right. It forces you to do it right.
Mainly, when you say do it right, are you mainly talking about foot position, right? I mean, so dropping your heel and getting in that V position to hold the bike to you so the bike doesn't float away, so you can lock so it's something you could practice in clips.
You could.
But you can also kind of not do it in clips. And then maybe with your heels not dropped on the downhill, you're not going to be actually quite as confident or have quite as much control as you could.
Here's a great example, Danny. This is a really good example. I mean, I hate to bring it up because I was trying to let this topic kind of go by the wayside, but bunny hops and J hops. We talked about it for 6 episodes. Have you noticed when you
bunny hops and J hops are the same thing? You're talking about bunny hops and level lifts.
Thank you, Robin. But have you noticed when you're going on a downhill, do you actually do a bunny hop or a J hop technique when you're trying to clear a rock or a log or something or a small gap? Or do you do a level lift? And I found that I was doing a level lift because it's really easy to do on the clips every time I wanted to do something. And now that I'm trying to do a proper J hop, it's really hard. Now, if you want to do a proper J hop, man, if you're on the flats, you have no choice but to do it correctly. That motion of getting that bike to pop up. Can you do it on clips? Absolutely. I'm saying that you can, but the flats will keep you honest. You cannot get away with bad position, bad technique, because you won't be able to execute correctly. And that's my point.
The bad technique being using the fact that you're clipped into the bike to pull the bike up into the air.
Yeah.
And the way that I know when I'm doing that, when I'm using bad technique on the trail and I'm trying to get like a J-hop movement, is one foot will clip out when I don't want it to. You know what I mean? Like I'm riding and then all of a sudden the foot's out, right? You try to do a move and all of a sudden the foot's out and you're like, you definitely did it wrong. And if you were on flats when that happened, that foot would go flying off as well.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's just such a steep learning curve to get good at riding flats on a lot of the terrain.
Yeah.
And then, it's just like, how much fun am I sacrificing to put these flat pedals on and not be able to ride the way that I can on clips, or vice versa.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. I guess the way that I stated that kind of makes the level lift look really bad. And it's not a bad technique, and there's nothing wrong with a level lift. If you can't do a J hop or bunny hop, that doesn't mean that you're not a good mountain biker or you can't do certain things. I will say that, having more tools in your toolbox or in your chest is always a good thing. There are times when a level lift makes more sense or is more helpful. And I would argue that the J hop or bunny hop is even more helpful in all the scenarios that you could use a level lift. You can use a J hop and a bunny hop. And I think it's a more powerful move.
Yeah.
And it's more versatile. If you know how to do that technique, you can use that in other areas of riding. We talked about, you doing those step ups or the pop ups onto a big rock. Well, that's not a J hop, but that technique is very similar. Can you do a pop up?
Yeah, that's the start of the J hop.
Yeah. Can you do a pop up with a level lift? I suppose if you got a high enough level lift, but that's a little ridiculous, right? So learning how to do that power move of exploding backwards and letting that bike suck up into you and then pushing forward, in terms of a log over or a step up, those are really powerful moves that if you could do that on flats, I mean, wow, that's tremendous. I've seen these folks, these trials, guys and girls, like, unbelievable. Yeah. So good.
Yeah. Look at Danny McCaskill. I mean, there's a bunch of them out there now, but what they can do on flat pedals on a bike, like it doesn't make sense when you look at it. Like, how are you getting a bike to move with you like that? From the ground, from a standstill or from a slow roll. There's just like this. There is a technique to be able to explode powerfully and bring the bike with you. And here in Arizona, I mean, you see it anywhere that someone wants to double or triple something, right? They're gonna they add that little extra. Or a lot extra, where they can just boost off of. And here in especially on South Mountain, these South Mountain quote unquote jumps.
Yes.
But essentially what they're saying is, like, we start the J-hop, the bunny hop motion from this part.
Yeah.
And then arc perfectly onto and then we catch downside over here. You're talking about bouncing on the trail. This is the next level where you're not just like moving your weight up and down. You're actually getting the bike off the ground, up and off the ground. And I see, the Rob Drews, and we rode with a guy named Jake, and I've seen Chris do it, and Joe, there's so many riders here that have found ways. And I've seen Jeff Windsor start to do it. They have found ways to start getting more and more air off of very, very small little rocks and features, things that aren't really jumps. And that is the J-hop.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And it looks like so much fun, it really adds so much flow.
Yeah. I would say that if you notice that you feel stiff on the bike, you're tense on the bike, I often look at, like, some of the best riders that I know are on flats, and I just look at how dynamic they are. And it's because you have to be dynamic on flats. You can't be a static rider because your foot will come off those pedals. You have to learn to push into the bike and find flow and traction where you can. And that really means moving around on that bike and getting it to do what you need to do. And I think with clips, a lot of times you get away with so much that you end up being more static or stiff on the bike because you don't have to work as hard. Do you know what I mean? So, and again, I'm making generalizations, and I apologize, but in order to have this conversation, I need to do that. And I'm not by any stretch of the means saying that if you're a clip rider, you're stiff or you're not dynamic. No, you can be all of those things. I'm saying that if you get flats, it'll even make it more easier to kind of practice those things because it forces you to do it. And could you be diligent and do it on clips? Yeah, you probably could, but it's a lot harder because you don't know how much you're actually using your clips. And I think that was your point that you were making.
Yeah, I look at some video of us riding, and I look at video that we have a lot of video of us riding, and I've looked at my heels, and I oftentimes I've been like, oh, good. It does look like I'm dropping my heels. I didn't know. Yeah. It does look like I'm doing that. So I was like kind of relieved, in a way that like I'm doing that technique properly. And it's just probably just happened that way. We've ridden enough steep stuff where it makes sense. If you think of physiologically, if you're going down a steep hill, right? And the proper riding position, I've always heard, I think it was Andy at Dirtsmart. He said, if the bike disappeared, you would land on your feet. Look at the picture.
Yeah. I've heard you say
the video.
That. Yes.
If the bike disappeared, you would land on your feet. So if you think about it, your heels are dropped, but that's the angle where you need to be, where you're going to be the strongest. Yeah. So that kind of may happen naturally as you're riding clips. I think for our listeners and that are younger, that have a lot of time, right? And they're on flats or they're on clips and they want to switch. But for like guys that and ladies that are our age or you get 1 or 2 rides a week and you want to go out and have fun, and you could work on your heels a little bit, but you don't want to spend the whole ride like working on your heel position. It's just really hard to say like, yeah, I'm going to go to flats and just like not have as much fun as I can for blank amount of time, right? 2, 3, 4 months.
Isn't that exactly what we talk about with the mindset? If you tell yourself that, then you're right. That is exactly what's going to happen.
Oh, you got me.
I know. I did get me because I did that. Because I did that. And what I did was I changed that mindset. Yeah. When I found out that I had to be on flats, I was like, oh, this is going to suck. I'm not going to. And you know what? It did suck.
Yeah.
The second ride, I said, I'm not going to do that. And I went into a completely different mindset. And man, it was awesome. Did I struggle? Yeah, I struggled, but
I get to be on flats. Yeah.
Not only that, but like I really started having fun with the fact that I couldn't do a lot of these things. And I was like, oh, this is a really good challenge. Like I'm getting better. I'm getting stronger. I can feel the technique because I started on flats. Like all of us, when you first get a bike, you start on flats. You don't just start on clips. So I had a year or two, on flat pedals and then 16 years of clips. But like I felt that coming back and I was like, oh, wow. And so that mindset is a huge part of it, So no, Danny, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't shy away from trying flats because you think it's going to be that way. Here's another really good example of the clips on jumps. How uncomfortable did you feel on that dirt jumper? Because your dirt jumper has flats.
It's the bike doesn't just stay to your feet. You have to be doing it correctly. And I do get to practice flats quite a bit because I ride that dirt jumper at the pump track.
Yeah.
So depends how many pump track rides I get in. And I've taken it to desert trails. I haven't sent the big jumps on it yet, partly because it has flat pedals. It's also a much different bike, and I just need to get my confidence there. But I jump from one turn to the other turn on that pump track, and sometimes there's a moment where my foot leaves the pedal. And it's like, oh, but I'm constantly surprised at how well my feet stay to the pedals and that I can pull that bike into me in a similar way as I would being clipped in. I'm much more confident on that thing than I would have thought. And I can bunny hop on it and I can level lift on it.
Yeah.
So there's value in that. I mean, I think if you have like a BMX or a dirt jumper and a pump track, a local bike park, obviously we talk about these sorts of things all the time, like how awesome these are for the community. I think that's a great way to practice these skills without necessarily saying I'm going to use it on a ride.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Good stuff, Danny.
All right. Well, I got to tell you I know you're not getting out for rides, but I have to tell you about my ride on Saturday, because Saturday here in Phoenix was Hawesfest, which is an awesome, like mountain bike festival of Stoke and celebration of Hawes. It is absolutely packed. It's put on by the Hawesaholics, and the Hawes Trail Alliance, and the Hawesaholics is just people that just love to ride, and they love to ride Hawes, and they're talking bikes and they're talking about group rides and trails, and the Hawes trails are awesome. There's so much there.
Yeah.
And I went with Jeff Jackson, and he's showing me the map over at the Hawes Trail Alliance page of all the new trails they're building. They're almost doubling the amount of trails that they have, all, green, blue, black, double black. Like, it's just an awesome community. So much gratitude for Hawesfest. It was a packed day, and I'll start off by saying I met Chris and Jeff Jackson in the parking lot, and we immediately start rolling up towards the festival, and Jeff's like, something's wrong. I can't clip in one of my feet. And we're looking at the pedal. He's like holding his foot up so I can look at the cleat. I'm like, man, the cleat looks fine. Like, if the cleat gets loose, sometimes like you can't clip in or clip out, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Talking about like clip issues,
Right.
So we get to the festival, we're staring at the pedals, we're staring at his cleat, and all of a sudden he takes off his other shoe to see if that'll clip in, and we're looking at the bottom of the other shoe, and I was like, that cleat doesn't look the same as the cleat on the first shoe. And they're both black mountain bike enduro shoes with two different cleats. He's got two different pedals on his bikes.
No, he doesn't.
And so he had two different cleats, and so he was wearing one shoe with one cleat and the other shoe with the other cleat. I was like, man, you got to at least get different color shoes. You were setting yourself up for this.
Jackson.
So, yeah. So now he's like in a quandary, like there's no time. He doesn't have time for his wife to bring him his other pair of shoes.
Yeah.
And we got there's rides like we were going to do this group ride that was led by, there's all sorts of rides. And one of the rides was a group ride led by the Somo guys, which is going to be Rob, Drew, and Patrick, who I met. And he's like a legendary Somo rider. And they were leading this mystery advanced ride. And that was the ride we were going to do. And he can't do this ride if he's not clipping in. So So he goes over to the Amigos tent, and I had said, I was like, see if you can get one of these bike shops to maybe give you a pedal. You're not going to find a cleat. No one's going to take a cleat off of their shoe and give it to you. But see if someone's got a pedal, right?
Yeah.
So he went to the Amigos tent, and they gave him a pedal, and they said, can we take something like a credit card or something like that, so we know you're going to bring it back? And he was like, how about you just hold on to my other pedal? so they gave him a pedal.
Yes.
So he rode with pedals. He said he didn't bother him at all, and he shredded that day. It was awesome. So just really, really funny story. Not something you hear too often. People, I don't want to have two different pedals. Because of this very problem. I want one set of cleats on all my shoes.
Yes. I've never heard of this. Is a first for me. And I'm so sorry, Jeff, that you had to go through that. That is hilarious. Yes.
It was pretty funny. Yeah, it was pretty funny. I was taking pictures of his two different shoes that look exactly the same.
Yeah.
They're different types. Like I could see it would be really easy. Like when you're getting up in the morning and you're grabbing your shoes in the dark. And
yes.
Yeah.
Funny.
So we got to do this group ride, and they're deciding which way to go, and eventually we decided to do this incredibly hard climb that Rob Drew had done on his e-bike, and thought it would be a good idea to take all of us. It's called Classic Hauls, to take all of us on our analog bikes, and it was a good challenge, man. Like, it was a good challenge. I didn't mind it. There was some hike-a-bike in there, but a seriously good challenge. And we climb up and we get to Gidrow, and then down to Boulderdash. And some people decide to do Lower Gidrow, and some people decided to do Boulderdash, and including this guy, Ethan, who had only done it once.
Yeah.
And the guy, it was just like mountain biking, just like what we love about mountain biking. Like this guy, Ethan, was like kind of on the fence. He had only done Boulderdash once. And Jake was like, you got some of like the best riders in the valley here that are like, we'll show you lines and walk you through it, and we'll show you the go arounds, and you can walk whatever you want. And it was just like, so like, this is a great opportunity, and Ethan was like, okay, I'm in. And we took our time and we picked our way down, and he walked some things, he rode some things, and, he started getting more confident, but he had fun.
Yeah.
He had fun. And then of course, Rob and Jake and Chris, they're like really comfortable in that trail. So they're sessioning and finding different jumps and drops, and, just riding things really, really smoothly. And that was really cool to see.
Yeah.
To see what's possible. They were they were really sending it. And I got to finish the story with the end of Boulderdash has this really long, steep, chunky exit.
Oh, yes.
And I've done it many times. I did it on the hardtail, right? So, but I didn't do it anywhere near as fast as Rob, Chris, and Jake. Those guys like flew down it. And Chris actually hiked up to do it again, to show Ethan again. And afterwards, Chris is saying to me, did you see what I did there? Your Sage was talking about this. And I was like, oh, are you me? You're talking to me? He was like, he was like quizzing me. Like, did you see what I was doing?
Yes. You're like,
Sage has been talking about this. Dan, what has Sage been talking about? And I was like, oh, bouncing on the trail. He was like, yes. He was like, I was getting heavy and light. I was bouncing down there. And, that's how you get speed on that section.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's really cool. But it was pretty funny when he started quizzing me about my own podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, but he was totally right. Like, that light and heavy, like that technique.
Yeah. Unlocks
Comfort and speed and fun. And yeah, these guys were flying down that feature. So it was an awesome day, and really cool to see what was possible. Great group of riders, and the guys that went down Gidrow also, they everyone was riding well and having fun, and we got lots of pictures. It was just like, what we love about mountain biking.
Yeah. I can only imagine how exciting it would be to go anywhere with Jeff Jackson. That dude is like 6 degrees of Jeff Jackson. Like, everybody knows that guy. Hawesfest must have been like,
oh yeah, we went from tent to tent. Nathan and the Ride Reactive tent was there, so I went over there and hung out. And the vibe around his tent was just like super high. I told him, I was like, you definitely calmed the vibes. Like, your tent was like, everyone was coming over, and everyone loves Nathan. And everyone loves Ride Reactive. Check out his gear, and we talked about it last week. Check out the Ride Reactive website and get some of his gear. But it was just so cool hanging out there. And I got to meet Ryan Butler, who great
Hey!
listener. Ryan, if anyone listening, he's the gentleman that was attacked by the javelina. He's back riding. And I hadn't met him in person. You know, he's a local rider, but he hasn't been riding because he's had this like horrible, you know, animal attack and broke his shoulder. So, so it was great to see him and and people in, you know, in the Amigos 10, and saw Tom at TAC, and I met Tim from Trail Manos, and at Lauren over, you know, at the Hawesaholics, who gave me the body position tips, you know, and people were, last year I was there and people were pretty unaware of the pod. This year I was there and a lot of people recognized or said that they listened, and that was cool, man. Like, it's happening, you know. It was really cool. Yeah. So thank you, Jeff, and thank you, and everyone that put on such an awesome event. It was really cool, and it was awesome riding with those guys. Like, it's so cool that you could ride in the morning and then hang out, and they got music going and competitions and food and raffles. Like, it's just an awesome scene here. Like the Phoenix, the Valley mountain bike scene here, man, it's just awesome. There were so many people.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Yeah. Shout out to the Hawesaholics and the HTA. They do a fantastic job there. Maintaining the trails.
A lot of people asking for you.
Oh, okay. A
lot of people asked for you. A lot of people asked for you. Yeah. Yeah. When you know, Sage here, or Sage think about coming in for this, you know, like, you might need to come in a January next year and do the Hawesfest and get out of the cold and do some Phoenix riding. Yeah.
Yeah. That is my place. I love myself a little bit of Boulderdash, my friend.
What a great trail, and so cool to see how these guys rode it. And I looked at that, you know, I looked at the drop where I washed out and fell a couple of weeks ago. I came on this podcast and I had just fallen that morning. Yeah. And I had washed out on it. And I watched all the guys, you know, Chris, Rob, and Jake just like effortlessly send it off of that thing. And I looked at it and I didn't, you know, I rode the alt line, but I looked at it and I was like, oh yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I got that again. You know, like when you fall on something, sometimes it takes you a minute or two to get back to it. But I looked at it and I was like, it doesn't look so bad.
Yeah, well, just like your daughter, right? Your daughter.
Exactly. Yeah. See what happens. Skills are in there.
Good stuff, Danny.
All right, my friend. What is your mountain bike gratitude of the week?
My mountain bike gratitude is very short and sweet, but it was very important to me. And that goes out to our pal, Shelly. And we've just become really good friends. And we have not been able to ride because, well, she was going through some surgeries to get better. And then we got all this snow. And she's like, hey, let's go for a hike. And man, it was just what I needed, man. When I say I haven't been riding, I haven't been getting anything. Like, I haven't done any walking, hiking, running, biking, nothing outdoors. So just to be able to get outside and enjoy nature with a good friend, it meant the world to me. Excuse me. And so much gratitude for that. So Shelly, thank you for the invite. I had an absolute blast.
And you guys went out to breakfast at one of my favorite places afterwards. And sent me a picture. I had seriously, I mean, you talk about not being able to do anything, and here I am with FOMO. You know, I'm missing out on a Sage and Shelly breakfast at one of my favorite places. I was so jealous.
Oh, so good. Delicious. Yes. I was thinking about you.
Shelly's awesome. Shelly is so in love with mountain biking, like legitimately just passionate about mountain biking, loves riding, loves following the sport. She's always sending us Hardline, you know, and Red Bull information. She's so excited to see people excel and who's going to win. Yeah. And, you know, just like, she's just like a really, really high vibe mountain biker, great person to know. I'm grateful that you met her. It's no surprise, you know what I mean? She's like a founding person of the fire group, you know, because she wanted her daughter and her friends to be able to race female enduro. Like, the lady, she's a legend. I mean, she's awesome.
Really is. Yeah.
And you getting out for a hike, a friend saying, hey, let's get outside. Yeah. What is here for us? Okay, we can't ride. What is here for us? I saw Dan Ackerman, who's one of our listeners, and we talk about him all the time. I saw right before this podcast started, I saw he posted an Instagram story and he tagged us, Ride and Laugh,
all right,
hashtag
man.
Ride and Laugh.
Yeah.
And he tagged us that said, you know, my favorite podcast motivated me to get outside for a walk in the snow. And, you know, he went for a hike. What is here for us? I can't ride my bike right now. The trails are just not riding, but what is here for me? And then go for it and then just see how that's going to work out for you. So kudos to Shelly and kudos to you for getting out there and doing it.
Yeah.
And kudos to you, Dan.
That's right.
My mountain bike gratitude of the week, certainly, I would lean back towards the Hawes and the Hawes Trail Alliance, but we did just talk about them. And I have to point out someone very special to me that has made a real difference in my mentality, and that is you, my friend, Trail Sage.
Okay.
Because I rode Boulderdash, and it had been a while. I rode it once recently, and then I rode it again on this group ride. And I was just confident, and I felt good. And Jeff Jackson even sent me a really nice message saying, "Hey, Dan, you looked really good. You looked confident. You looked centered." And look, everyone appreciates that. But, when I was really in it, when I was really going through it, when I was having those series of five falls, and I was really starting to question everything, you were saying, Dan, give yourself grace. Process these emotions. You don't just have to keep moving forward. It's okay. Don't go for a ride. Ride things that you're comfortable with. But don't believe the thoughts that you're not a good rider, because you are a good rider. I've seen you ride. You're a good rider. I have video of you riding. You're a good rider. And this is true. I accepted that. I'm open to receive, and I accepted that. But it really made a big difference. It really did start to make me feel confident. It really did start to get me back to center. And I really, really appreciate that, because it's not just mountain biking. When we're off kilter in mountain biking, I think we're off the kilter in life a lot of times.
Yeah.
And you know what? I got this. And sometimes it takes a friend to say, no, don't believe those thoughts, right? Our self-talk isn't usually anywhere near as nice as what we would externalize to a friend or a child or a loved one, so being able to step back from that and your encouragement to do so on this podcast, and off the podcast, Sage and I do talk off the pod once in a while. I think we should record those conversations because they're fantastic. But
hey,
regardless, man, I just really appreciate those lessons that you were and that encouragement that you were giving to me, and it makes a difference. So thank you.
It's a special relationship that we have, you and I. I was at the beginning of the show, I'd mentioned new video releases. And it's funny because in that video that will hopefully be coming out by the time you're watching or listening to this pod, it should be out. It's the video from when we did the Gem Trail in Tucson. And there's one part.
A Trail Stage video.
Yes. And I actually cut this out. You're talking
about a Trail Stage video that you've been working on.
Yeah. Yes. And I actually cut this part out of the video, but it was really funny. There was one section of the trail and you turned to me and you're like, don't even bother recording this, Sage. I'm probably not even going to get it. And I instantly shouted you out. I was like, dude, we don't say that, and called you out.
Yep.
And we do that. And I remember there was a time that you actually did that to me quite recently when you came to visit here. And there was a section and I didn't get it. And I got really angry with myself. Like I think I said a few choice words and you're like, dude. At
Mount Penn. Yeah.
Yeah. And you were like, dude, stop. Don't talk about yourself like that. Cause I was really hard on myself. And I was like, whoa, you called me out, and it caught me off guard. I was like, oh my God. I didn't even realize those things were coming out of my mouth. That's how natural it just came out, and the fact that you called it out and called my attention to it, it made me aware.
Right.
And I think that's really special about our friendship, that we do hold each other accountable. And the fact that we get to share in this together, like we both have the same approach or this mindset is pretty unique. I don't know. Hopefully we're developing more people into this kind of a mindset. Yeah. And we'll know more people. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the podcast is growing. The reason that this is so appealing is because it feels good. It's a nice way to live. It's authentic. We're not saying just to be positive and be fake. We're saying this is how this can work. And we're sharing our experiences of the ups and downs. It's nothing is just a miracle fix, right? But this is a nice way to live life. This is a nice way to ride trails. This is a nice way to learn on our bikes. This appreciation of whatever happens is happening for me, so I can find appreciation in everything. I don't need to label it as bad because there's going to be something for me here.
Yeah.
So I'm on a winning streak, right? That is a nice way to live and to ride. And if you're listening to this, that resonates with you. And it should. I mean, there's no should, but if it does and you're listening and you're enjoying it, take it to your riding group.
Yeah.
Right. Or certainly you should be telling your friends to listen to the podcast, but the more people that listen, the more people that are exposed to this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like this, there's abundance here for everyone. We have more skills than we even realize. We are unlimited, right? Whatever you think, whatever you want to get to in your mountain bike career, just put that away because there's no limit. You can go way beyond that. You just let it happen. Just be open to receive.
Yeah.
And so I do think when you talk about us holding each other accountable in that sort of way, and when you were talking to yourself like that, the thought I had in my mind, you were doing that negative self-talk, and the thought that came into my mind was, no one talks to my friend that way. If someone else started yelling at you like that, right, I would be stepping to them.
That's right. Yeah.
So that is not acceptable. That is not acceptable language for anyone to bring to my friend.
That's right.
And that's what we do to ourselves. That's what we do to ourselves sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? Just pause, take a breath and pause and think about the language that you're using.
I love you, man. That is really, really good stuff. I have not been riding, so I don't have a mountain bike tip, my friend. The tip is all on you.
I am glad. First of all, I love you as well.
All right.
And listeners, RideLife1 at Gmail and YouTube comments. We love you. Anything that we're talking about resonates. Any questions you have, we are here for you. Throw it in the comments, send us an email. And we've gotten some awesome emails and some awesome comments. I was just so much appreciation and gratitude.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone. I got a great tip. And this is a mountain bike skincare tip that I think I am very, very qualified to give. Anyone that's been listening knows that I have taken quite a few tumbles, some worse than others. And, we get these mountain bike scars, right? I gotta show my elbows. My elbows are two-toned, right? My knees look the same. I had a massive, massive scar on my forehead from when I broke my face.
Yeah.
And what I have found was I started using this tallow skincare product. It's basically just tallow, which is a type of fat. You can cook in it. But when you can get it as a skincare, I'll put the link on Amazon, the one that's my favorite one. But because I'm bald, I shave my head. I've always put like some sort of like salve on, like cream or something after I shave.
Yeah.
I shave my head and then I put something on. So I had a lot of experience with these different types and I've always looked for something natural. And I was using it and I noticed like just how well my scars healed on my face. Like this was a really bad scar.
Yeah.
After I broke my face. And I noticed how well it healed. And so I started doing some research and it turns out that there's vitamin E, which is a fat-soluble antioxidant that helps protect skin cells from damage, supports collagen, and retains moisture alongside other beneficial vitamins like A, D, and K. And so you have all this in the tallow. You get a nice grass-fed tallow. It is an animal product, but it's like the original moisturizer. And it's known for having these like nourishing and protecting qualities. And I think the vitamin E really helped with the scars. And so I'm putting it on my elbows. I'm putting it on my shins. Man, it moisturizes great. And I think it really helps with the scars. So that's my mountain bike skincare tip of the week.
2 questions. As someone that does not use any skincare, is it sticky? And also, does it have a scent?
You can get it scented or unscented, but naturally it has no scent.
Okay.
And it is not sticky. And it just absorbs very easily into your skin, and it feels great. After you wash your face, you can put it on. And then there's some that are, more for your face and probably some that are more for your body. I have both of them, and it's natural. Like, do we really want to be slathering on, moisturizer from the drugstore that's, just like got all sorts of chemicals and big words and things that, we don't know what they are. So I think like putting something natural in your skin is your largest organ. You know, it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it works just as good, then you're absolutely right. Yeah. Why not? Why not just choose a natural solution? So yeah, good stuff, Danny. Wow. All right then.
All right. Well, if you're still listening, you are definitely one of us, and we appreciate you. You're a mountain biker. You're stoked. Your skin looks fantastic, and it's going to look even better. And when you click on the link in our our description. Thank you. Please rate and subscribe on your podcast player. Please give us a thumbs up on YouTube and listen to the end and send us a comment or an email. And Watch Time Matters on YouTube, and the comments help. And we're just so appreciative and so much gratitude for all our listeners and everyone that gets involved. But even if you're not sending us a comment, just, thank you for listening. Tell your friends. We are accepting super thanks. Good things are happening. They're getting even better. Unlimited. You're unlimited. We're unlimited. Let's see how good it can get. Everyone have a great week and a great week of riding. Ride left.
I'll see everyone.